I wrote a letter to the president of G.I. Joe, and yeah, I sent that in to them, and they sent it back to me with a very nice rejection letter, and I got the feeling they sent that letter out a lot. Orthrus is going to attack and kill every current Atlas operative overnight. All that's going to be left is that kind of split skull stamp on the ground with, it turns out, the blood of the Atlas agents is used.
That's a
That's
great.
my most anticipated of year 2.
Hey, okay, I'm here with Carson from 3dJoes.
Yo, Joe.
And yeah, we're here to talk about well, everything, but Operation Recall specifically, which is your 3 3/4 inch line using all the great creators of G.I. Joe. So it's
Yep.
really great to meet you finally, though. I'm kind of like running around each other a little
Nice to
bit.
meet you too. Nice to meet you
Yeah.
too. I feel like I have a parasocial relationship with you already because I've watched some of your videos, of course, and so I already kind of feel like I know you. It's funny how you get to feel like you know people that you've just watched them online. You do not know them. You know what I mean? But yeah, I did a little reading about it. It's called parasocial relationships. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, I've really enjoyed your content, man. Been a lot of
Oh,
fun.
oh, thanks, man. I couldn't have done it without you because
Thank
I've
you.
obviously used your images for everything.
And
And
you're welcome to it. All I ask
yeah.
anybody that's creating YouTube content, all I ask is let people know where to find more of the good stuff, man. Put up
Right.
3D Joes and say courtesy of 3D Joes. I like once a week I get people, hey, I want to do a YouTube video on this thing. I'm like, go for it. Here's the
Yes. Yeah.
logo, just
Well, that's a good
drop.
way to do it too. Like, there's other websites where they like watermark everything, and it's like, well, what are you
Mm,
doing? You're
mhm.
there to like create a resource, and you want to.
I
I mean,
when I started 3D Joes in 2012, obviously Yojo was already in existence for like 12 or 15 years at that point. They had been around for a long time, and I love Yojo.
it is good. It's really
I never
yeah.
shit talk Yojo. The guys that put it together were very selfless and put a tremendous amount of time and effort and energy into it for like 2 decades.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's like frozen now. It's under new ownership. There's banner ads all over it. Nobody that cares about it
Mm.
can update it and all that stuff. So when I started 3D Joes in 2012, the key differentiator was I'm going to have no ads and it's going to be mobile friendly. Like I'm going to really streamline it,
Oh yeah, yeah.
so that people, because by then mobile traffic was already more than half of internet use, and I was like, okay, that's where my people are. So I've got to build something that works well where they are. So that was one of the things. And then watermarking, you know, yeah, I'm not going to try to protect my assets, man. I'm more interested in making an elegant website than forcing people to give credit, you know?
Right, right. Yeah. I mean, I think you got to give credit, and I think the first time I was grabbing stuff from eBay, grabbing stuff from I didn't know what I was doing. And then quickly I was like, oh, all right, I've got to make sure I give credit to where.
Yeah, because it's not
Wow.
like it's not profiteering or anything. I don't make any money off of the
Yeah.
traffic. There's no ads on the website, right? But it's
Oh,
just
right.
that
Right.
thing of where if you build it, you want people to enjoy it, right? Like
Courtesy too. Just
you want
be
people to
courteous.
find it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, but I really appreciate it. It makes everything a million times easier.
nice.
I don't know if I could do it without your website, honestly.
Well,
Just,
man, we're getting ready to flood that website with thousands of new pictures. I'm working on the
right.
field guides right now, and I have been for the last year and a half. And those are little pocket-sized collecting guides. One's on figures, one's on vehicles and play sets, one's on file cards, and one's on carded figures. So between myself and Wayne Shiner, that runs Retro Toy Quest and is doing the Toy Collector's Wish Book, we've
Yeah.
shot thousands of I shot 7,000 photos of just the figures and accessories. I think Wayne shot tens of thousands of photos of the
Oh, wow.
vehicles, play sets, and all the little pieces. And he's going through and he's pulling the selects and he's sharing all the vehicles and play sets with me. And I'm sharing all the figures and accessories with him. And he's making his bigger toy collector wish book. And I'm making my littler field guide. And I think we could be role models to the community for how to get along with each other and help each other as opposed to competing and cutting each other down
Yeah.
and all that BS. Like both Wayne and I looked at this and he came to me very respectfully and said, hey, this is the toy collector wish book I did with these other brands. And I'm thinking of taking on G.I. Joe next. And obviously, you've already done all the work on file cards and mint on card figures. Here's what I want to do with loose figures and loose vehicles and play sets. And I was like, dude, that's amazing. You take the figures or you take the vehicles and play sets. I'll take the figures. Let's divide and conquer. I'm going to make these little field guides. I feel like there's room in the market for both of them. And
Yeah.
here we are a year and a half later with tens of thousands of new photos. and he's of course given me permission to share those on 3dJoes as well. So the website's about to get a lot more robust.
But yeah, so the real reason we're here to talk is Operation Recall. I think it's so awesome. I think it's so
Thank you.
great about what you did there is that many people can relate. Because I'm betting just about everybody who was a GI Joe fan at some point sketched out a little a character or two,
Yeah,
right? You know,
I
like
think that's why Steel Brigade is so popular,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Because they finally gave us the opportunity to be one, right?
Right,
I
right,
think
right.
I'm sure there were thousands of us that flooded Hasbro with letters of little stick figure drawings
Yeah,
and ideas of who they wanted to make into a figure, and you could tell. For the audience that doesn't might not know the story yet, in 1989, I submitted a concept to Hasbro, and I sent in the drawings of what it could look like. I even gave them pieces they could reuse from other figures, so they
that's
would only
smart.
have to mold a couple new pieces, right? And I gave them a file card, a dossier, and I wrote a letter to the president of GI Joe, and yeah, I sent that in to them, and they sent it back to me with a very nice rejection letter, and I got the feeling they sent that letter out a lot.
Yeah,
Like, that letter had the tone to it. It was very nice and very well thought out, but also legally very protective. Like, "We
right.
have returned your stuff. We have neither, copied nor reviewed your content." I'm like, "Uh-huh. Why's
Aw,
it got coffee stains on it
yeah,
then?" You know? I could tell it'd been looked at. But yeah, so Operation Recall is really just all about bringing back the creators that made our childhoods amazing. The people that wrote the comic books, wrote the file cards, designed the figures, sculpted the figures, painted the packages, were the branding and marketing and the voice of G.I. Joe, Real American Hero.
yeah,
All those guys, it's like the Beatles, and I got the Beatles back together
yeah.
to make a new album. It's truly what it feels like. It's unbelievable. I can't believe that, this is a big portion of my life now, and I can't believe I get to tell that story again and again because that's a freaking incredible story. You know what I mean?
That is awesome. Yeah, and
So I
they're a
truly
uniquely
feel.
talented bunch too. I think
Oh,
they are
man, it
like
was lightning in a
incredible.
bottle because they had the right combination of chemicals. You
Yeah.
needed Ron Rudat's imaginative, the variety of the types of figures that he created. You needed Kirk Bozigian with his marketing lingo and language, the way that he was inspired by the comic books in the military. He was the one that came up with all the acronyms for all the vehicles in the first year, and he wrote all the
Oh,
fan
that's
club
cool.
letters, and he helped come up with all the packaging lingo. It's like swivel arm battle grip and that kind of thing,
Yeah.
snap on, stay on accessories. That's all marketing, branding. That's all Kirk Bozigian and the branding marketing folks. So they just had, Larry Hama, obviously incredible author, to turn these plastic figures into personalities. Bill Merklein, the dude sculpted the Visa Dove that's on millions and
Oh
millions
wow.
of credit cards. Like, he's an expert miniature sculptor. So incredible. And then Werbin Morrill, which became Coleman LaPuma, Siegel and Morrill. His name is Ed Morrill. He was the guy that did all the branding from 1969 to
Oh yeah.
1989. So the Adventure Team, G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, he was there for all of it, creating logos and packaging and everything. Incredibly talented. And he worked for much bigger consumer packaged good clients too. So it wasn't just, Hasbro and toys for them. They actually
Mm,
told Hasbro they would not work for any other toy company. They didn't want to do a lot more toys. So they did Hasbro, they did G.I. Joe, they did Transformers, they did Visionaries. So they would pick and choose, and they would do a lot of stuff for Hasbro, but they didn't do any other toy work for any other company, just on a handshake agreement with Steven Hassenfeld. But
awesome.
so all those people have come back to work on toys again for the first time in 30 plus years,
Yeah.
uh, because of me, which is crazy to say. It's crazy to say. But they got to know me through building the website, and then I came around and interviewed all of them in depth for the Art of G.I. Joe omnibus hardcover. I filmed 50 hours with them
Yeah.
and distilled that down to 10 hours of interviews and put it on 4 Blu-ray discs. And I had been going and visiting them and doing audio interviews going back to like 2013. So I had just met them many times over the years and formed these close friendships, and I guess earned their trust. So when I asked them if they wanted to do one more figure for a chapter in the art book, they said, "Sure, yeah, we'll do that." So I came up and I filmed. I actually had Tristan Rudat film with his dad because this was at the beginning of COVID, and we were
Yeah.
worried about the whole COVID thing. So Tristan, who's a filmmaker as well,
I know.
filmed with his dad.
I am
You know
friends.
Tristan?
Well,
Nice.
friend of a friend. Well,
Yeah, yeah,
I've
yeah.
hung out with Tristan multiple
Nice.
times,
He's
and
great. He's
yes, yeah,
great.
nice guy. Well, because
So I
he's I live
shipped
in Rhode
him.
Island, so
Yep. I shipped him my DSLR camera and my audio gear, so it would look consistent, and had
Mm.
him shoot with Ron while he did the design work, and then I went and lived with Bill Merklein for 2 weeks while he, sculpted the Rotella figure, and filmed with him the whole time. Went and filmed with, Doug Hart, the package painter, went and filmed with Kirk Bozigian, like, while he reviewed everything like he would review it back in the day, and, so this was literally just gonna be a chapter in the book and a little documentary, a little mini documentary, but when we got done, everybody was like, "That was awesome!" And the final product of Rotello and the figure and the pigeon Homer and all the accessories, the drone, the backpack with the straps and everything, it was all really, really cool. And I just paid them out of pocket because it was part of the omnibus hardcover book. So I figured, that's a write off. I'm just having fun. So I paid them out of pocket, but it was like 17 grand that I paid them throughout the course
Oh,
of the
okay.
project. So I was like, okay, I can't do that again, just like out of pocket. So
Not for 20 figures.
nah, not yeah, and this was just one figure, right?
Right.
So I got done with that, and they were all. I remember I had an interview with Doug Hart. He's the package painter, and he was presenting the final painting to me. And at the end of the interview, he was like, I love this stuff. I just love doing it. And you wish it would continue, but sometimes it doesn't. You just have to move on to other things. And it was like this dagger, in the
Yeah.
chest. And I was like, man, that's like he's so good at it. Like, why is he not doing this? If he wants to do this, why is he not still doing this? And the cold hard truth of it is Hasbro let him go in 1999,
Oh,
so he did everything from My Little Pony to Jim and the Holograms, Cops and Crooks, a shitload of G.I. Joe. He did
yeah.
a ton of brands for Hasbro. He was the jack of all trades. He was a chameleon. When it comes to package art, he's a chameleon. He can blend in with any style. He can let any other painter set the tone, and he can follow them and do that thing like they're
Mm,
doing it.
that's
So
awesome.
he's kind of like Rain Man of package painting. It's crazy. Um, but so to me, it was like really sad. This guy wants to do this and he's not able to do this because people aren't hiring him to do it. So I was like, all right, look, I was driving home from Massachusetts thinking about that. And I believe that's where the crystallization of Operation Recall, because it was just the art of action figure design, a chapter in a book, right? And then
Yeah.
there's a big pivot and it became Operation Recall, legendary creators back on active duty, and I had to come to that moment, and I really think that interview with Doug was the turning point where I was like, this is too big of an opportunity. If they all want to do it, and if I can go raise money and make it happen, why would I not? You know what I mean? And so
Yeah, yeah.
that's when I decided to do the Kickstarter. We took submissions from the community. I got like 270 submissions in
Wow.
2 weeks. So I knew people wanted to be part of this. And they sent in all kinds of crazy stuff, man. It was so much fun. And so then I got Ron Rudat, Mark Pennington, and Kirk Bozigian together. We got together in a hotel for like a boardroom. I rented a boardroom in a hotel near them. I flew Pennington up, but then the rest of them were in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. So we got together in this hotel. We filmed this, so it'll be part of the documentary. Um, and we went through. My friend Joe and I like whittled it from 270 maybe down to 150, and then
Oh,
I sat there with Mark, Ron, and Kirk, and for 2 or 3 days we went through all of them, and we gave them all fair consideration, and we picked our top 16. Here's what we'll do for year one, and here's our second 16. Here's what we'll do for year two, if we're so lucky.
yeah.
And so then we took it out to Kickstarter, and $415,000 later, we were like, okay, man, we're in business. We've got the seed capital to do this, 20 times. And it's nowhere near going to cover 20 figures, but it gave us the running start. So,
Yeah, that's awesome. One thing I love about it is it looks like when you put it out to the community, you've got like stuff submitted by 10-year-olds and stuff
yes,
submitted by like 50-year-olds. That's
yes.
right.
The 10-year-olds made me happier
Yeah.
because it's me. Like when I
Yeah.
submitted Rotello, that was 1989. I was 10 years old. And
Yeah.
and I got that nice little rejection letter and I moved on. I think Steel Brigade, I ended up getting a Steel Brigade named Rotello, so that was as close as I could come to
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Um so to have people like Bobby who created Clanker and Tank, or Alexander who created the Ninja with the prosthetic
That's a
leg,
great one, yeah.
um and for them to be at Joe Fest when we had the panel where we revealed which guys were selected to move forward in development, which guys and gals, we've got a lot of ladies on our line too.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, when we got to have that panel and announce the ones that were selected, and Bobby and Alexander were in there, that's like top 10 like fandom community memories for me. seeing those kids getting excited, seeing their parents. One of their parents teared up. Like it was really special. It was really special. And we created this Facebook group where it's all 16 of us or whatever that had their concept selected, and those guys have become my focus group, man. I fly stuff
Oh,
past them
nice.
every week. I'm sending them stuff, and they've given me so much feedback. A lot of them are really talented artists, so they've actually provided a bunch of artwork that you'll see on the year two figures. We
Oh,
do
cool.
these. Have you seen the inserts that come with the figures yet that show off the whole pre-production process?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So this is like, think of it like CD liner notes. So Ron Rudat did all the ideation, all the different sketches of stuff he was thinking about. And then me and Kirk Bozigian got together, marked it up, and then gave it back to him and said, we want to keep this part. We want to keep that part. We want to keep that part. What if you did this? You know, just a process. And so then he came back with a revised figure design. And then he would do color studies, different color options for
Oh,
that figure design. And
nice.
then once we have the final colors locked down, then he would do what's called a figure sculpture sheet that shows the turnaround of the figure. And that's what the sculptor works off of. And accessory sculpt sheets that the accessory modeler would work off of. And so I decided to take all of that, everything I just described, and put it in this one little pamphlet. So I hide it behind the figure. I color coordinate it so it blends in with the background that's behind the figure. So you're not really going to notice it until you cut the figure open, and then you'll see what is this little thing in here, and you'll unfold it, and it's that whole creative process on one
That's
side,
really cool.
and then on the opposite side is a big like mini poster of Doug Hart's package painting on Adorned.
Oh,
So
wow. Very cool.
yeah,
Okay.
it's like CD liner notes, man. Like when you
Yeah.
used to open a CD, listen to it for the first
Yeah.
time, and like figure out who wrote the song and what are the lyrics and all that kind of stuff. To
Right.
me, it adds a lot of value to the figure because it shows you what it took to get there, right? Shows you all the artistry that went into it.
Now, here's a good question. Is the artistry, how much are you doing it the old way? Like, obviously, I think I would imagine action figures are not made the same way, right?
Yeah, that's
A
right.
whole lot
But
more. So, right.
yeah, like, I've been following Weather Dominator Lenny while he
Yeah.
designs the classified line, and he puts up a lot of the drawings that he creates for the figures. And I think it's safe to say he's doing all that digitally. I think he's commented that
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
like sitting on his couch on his iPad, like able to work on stuff.
Hmm.
So that's awesome, good for him. But that's definitely not how they worked back in the day, right? Ron
Yes.
Rudat, Ron Rudat would sit there with paper and with acetate, like just like clear translucent kind of paper, and he would go back and forth and sketch things out, and then once he had something that he liked, he would lay another one on it, he would trace over it, but he would change a couple things, and he would really iterate, like meaning create different versions of things without having to redraw the whole thing from scratch. So what you'll find from a designer like Ron Rudat is a lot of these kind of translucent pieces of paper
Oh,
that
that's
have kind of
cool.
tracings off of them. And then when he would create presentation artwork, it actually evolved quite a bit from when he was doing it in 1982 until he was doing it until 1987. The 1987 stuff is maybe pen and ink and watercolors, whereas the 1982 stuff I think is either oil or gouache, like
Oh,
paintings.
wow.
So he really evolved his presentation art style while he was there. The color studies tended to pretty much stay markers. So what they would do is they would, once they got a final line art, just a black and white line art of exactly how they wanted the figure design to look, then they got permission to move on to color
Okay.
studies would be the next step. So they would go to the photocopier, they would make 10 copies of that black and white line art, and they would take markers and they would color the hell out of all those copies, and that would be color studies, right? So then they
Oh,
would
all
meet
right.
with the design director again, and he would say, oh, okay, I like this, I like that, I like that, whatever. And so we did with Operation Recall the exact process as they used to do it.
Wow.
So everything was drawn by hand. All the color studies were colored by hand. Nothing was done digitally. All the figure sculptures were sculpted by hand. I 3D printed the buck right here on a Form 3 resin printer. The buck is the skeleton that preserves the articulation points. So you know how the shoulder joints, what clearance they need, what the
Oh,
ball
yeah.
joint
Yeah.
neck
Oh,
clearance is, and all that stuff. So you
right.
put together a buck, which is just like a skeleton that has the correct articulation, and then they sculpt on top of that. So Bill Merklein uses plumber's seal epoxy. It's literally a two component epoxy that you
Oh,
mix
wow.
together, and then you add water to it to make it softer. And then once you got it perfectly like you want it on the sculpted piece, he puts it in a little crock pot and heats it up, and it becomes rock solid. And then he'll start adding on top of that again. If he decides he wants to subtract from that, then he pulls out the Dremel and really goes to town with a drill on it
Oh,
because it's
wow.
so hard at that point. So that's how Bill Merklein works, and I know his process really well because of staying with him for a couple weeks while he worked on Rotella. I believe Mike Good, who's our other sculptor that works in California, I believe he uses more of a wax.
Okay.
And Hasbro, I think the waxes are quicker, but I think the epoxies are more forgiving, kind of
Oh,
thing.
right. Okay.
So
You're
yeah, they
doing it the
all
old
have.
way. It's just we're doing the
Yeah,
way.
so
That's awesome.
that was all the old analog style, right? All the analog
Okay.
arts, which I love, which
Yeah.
a big part of it was me wanting to document that before it's gone. Um, then I went to Massachusetts, so Rhode Island to Lightbeam 3D. Is he in? He's in one of the two, and they're right next to each other. Lightbeam 3D actually took each of those hand sculpted figures and made casts of them, and did poured resin copies of those, and I created 3 of each of those resin casts, and those 2 of those became paint masters, one to go with me to conventions and one to go to China as the guide. Like the paint
Okay. Yeah.
master
Yeah.
shows the factory exactly what colors they should be. And then the third one that I just left in that full resin color, that was used at the factory to be scanned. Once we had a scan of all the pieces and parts, then it was digital, and this is where it changes. Like this is where it diverges from the
Okay.
old
Yeah.
path. So Carter the Conqueror on Instagram, another former Hasbro sculptor. He was a sculpt manager at Hasbro. He's a freelancer now. He's been working with me on all these figures. And so Bill Merklein and Mike Good did the analog physical sculpt, and I had resin casts made of those, and I sent them to China. Once China scanned them, then Carter the Conqueror helped me revise all those scans to get them ready for production. And I don't want to undersell what Carter did.
Oh,
Carter
yeah.
added so much to every figure he touched.
Hmm.
So it's not just Bill Markline and Mike Good that did these. If you look on the back of the packaging of any Operation Recall figure, you'll see like hand sculpted by Bill Merkline and digitally sculpted by Carter, Um, and
Very
then I'm
cool.
working with Mark Jerwig on all the accessories. Doug Hart is doing all of our package paintings again. And so, yeah, we got the whole team back together. Doug is obviously painting analog. He's not going digital at all.
Right. Right.
Never will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now all the package design, yeah, we've done that in Photoshop and Illustrator, so that's a little different.
Yeah.
Photoshop and Illustrator came in the late '80s, and Coleman, LaPuma, Siegel, and Morrill were on the cutting edge of it of desktop publishing. But Ed Morrill very fondly recalled doing the paste ups for all these things before Toy Fair, and it was not desktop publishing yet.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for the most part, we've done all analog. We've done it
That is
old
very
school.
cool.
Yeah,
That is very cool.
and the outcome of that is, if you've got a torso, let's say a waist, and you got 2 pockets on the back. If you're a digital sculptor, you're probably going to sculpt one pocket, and then you're going to copy it and paste it over here and call it a day, right?
Yeah.
But when someone analog physically sculpts that, there's going to be little irregularities there. There's going to be little
Right.
bits of asymmetry there. And to me, where I can tell like a Bill Merkline, it's in the cloths, it's in the folds, it's in the kind of natural elements of it. The stuff that's solid surfaces, hard goods that needs to be like perfectly symmetrical and cylindrical and square and rectangular and blah blah
Mhm.
blah. All that stuff I think is great for 3D modelers. When you get into the more organic stuff, and modelers can do this, there's ZBrush, for sculpting faces and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I feel like somebody like a Bill Merkline that sculpted for 40 years and that has the expertise of sculpting organic stuff as well as he does. Like he sculpted the dove for Visa, right? The
Yeah.
dude
Yeah.
can he has a line of horses called Merkline's Equines, where he's just sculpting the musculature of horses from
Oh,
scratch.
wow.
He's amazing. And so I think when you have an analog sculptor using their hands and sculpting organic material like flesh, like
Yeah.
clothing, like folds and fabric and that kind of thing, I think it's got a little more humanity to it when it's not done in the computer.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah. Totally.
that's not to say that modern sculptors can't sculpt somewhat convincing fabrics in the computer. They're getting better, but yeah, I miss the Merklines.
That is awesome. Yeah, we're here to mostly talk about is the lore, which is something. So you got an
Mhm.
action figure line, you got
Yep.
to have the lore. So background here
Yep.
is I'm working on a mythology video. I reached out to Carson a while back and said I want to do that. He gave me some materials, and this is sort of to clarify some of it, just go
Mhm.
through it. Just want to
Yeah.
hear from your mouth, how the lore is created
How it's
and
shaping up.
yeah, how it's shaping up. Yeah, you
Yep.
and it's
Yep.
Joe Goldstein.
Yeah, yeah. So Joe Goldston is a great friend of mine. We became friends maybe back around 2009. He came to my old place of work and brought me a 12-inch Sideshow Collectibles hooded Cobra Commander, if I remember correctly. And so that was our first plastic crack deal. I bought it from him on eBay and saw that he was in Durham, North Carolina, and I was in Raleigh, which is like right next door. And so I was like, "Dude, what's up? We should meet up."
Yeah.
And he was like, "All right, fine, yeah, let's do that." So we became fast friends. We've gone to all the conventions together. He's just been my buddy for 15 plus years now, which is amazing. And Joe's really really smart, and he's also in the creative area like me. He does video production, storytelling, training kind of stuff. I mean, we all have corporate jobs for the bread and butter, but we all
Right.
aspire to more creative things. And so we did a stop motion animation together a long time ago now called Joe's Anatomy. If you want to look that up,
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
it's about the GI Joes falling apart and Doc trying to fix them. I won't give any more spoilers away.
You seem to be a little loose. Oh, it looks like we're gonna have to operate.
I'm too young to die.
You're not gonna die, kid. This happens to the best of us.
But we just did that for fun. And then one year for one of the Joe Cons, we built the life size Falcon glider and Viper glider, and he was the Cobra Viper pilot, and I was Tan Grunt. And yeah, so we've done some stupid shit together. We've had a lot of fun together over the years in the community, and he's a great guy. And so I remember we wrote Joe's Anatomy on the way back from Joe Con in New Orleans, and that just gives you an idea of like when we start brainstorming something, we can really come up with some stuff and have a
Yeah.
good time together. So we've talked a lot about Operation Recall, but I also want to give a lot of thanks and credit to that focus group, the Brain Trust, the
Oh,
Operation
yeah.
Recall concept creators, because those guys have been a sounding board and also like the birth of a lot of great ideas as well. And so Joe and I talk to them all the time. And then obviously we have Larry Hama. I
Of
mean,
course, yeah.
he wrote all the file cards, so that's our starting point, and we want to, honor that. But yeah, I grew up a lifelong fan of comic books. So Larry was my gateway drug. I got GI
Yeah.
Joe first, and then that segued me into Daredevil and Batman and Spider Man, and ultimately Chris Claremont's X Men for hundreds of issues.
Yeah.
And then I went over with Jim Shooter when he left Marvel and he formed Valiant. I was a huge Valiant fan for several years. In Image Comics, I was there for the birth of that. It was pretty, but not so well read. Um, yeah, so I always wanted to draw comic books, write comic books, and so another dream of mine, in addition to making Rotello, would be to make a comic book that tells the stories of all these characters, right?
Yeah.
So Joe has been working on that. He's done the lion's share of the work. He's written about 8 issues,
Oh,
and
nice.
we've talked over, like, I'd say we plotted it out together. I would say we
Okay.
plotted it together,
Yeah.
and then Joe wrote the script, and we've got a lot of touch points in there that we want to hit. There's a lot of marks we want to hit. And as we continue to develop the year 2 figures, we're coming up with backstories for them. So we want to work that into the story as well. So
Nice.
I would say Joe has done the lion's share of the work, but the brain trust and just the fact that we continue to create new figures and want to come up with cool backstories for them, that has kept us kind of continuously fleshing out the lore. I think the question is, at what point are we going to put pen to paper and start
Yeah.
to visualize it? And I've got an amazing illustrator committed to the project that would be, uh, I think, the perfect fit for it. I think Joe and I would be comfortable bringing on an editor or a co-writer to help,
Okay.
just to make sure that we're not messing it up too bad. Like, we try not to have big egos and think we could do everything, right? So I've talked with a couple people about that as well. Um, the question really for comic books is funding. And so, I've talked to Bobby
Yeah.
Vala. Valaverse is very successful. I think he put on
Yeah.
LinkedIn they were selling 4 million a year, and I think that was last year. It looks like he continues to grow.
Definitely.
So
I work
he's
for him. Do you know that?
no, I
I
didn't.
I am the
You
guy
do?
that I am the guy that makes all of his videos.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah.
Well, so who's the guy that films the videos?
Me.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, so
That's
who
what I
was
mean. I film his videos. We actually collab a couple times. We like I'm on the
who,
videos every once in a while. But
so I I consider Bobby a friend. Hopefully he thinks the same.
yeah.
And I've picked his brain over the years a lot. And I've listened to what he says because he's very forthright and honest with the community that supports him. And I know the comic books, I believe he said this publicly, like comics are a loss leader, right?
Mhm.
They cost what they cost. So I don't want to say what his cost. I have no clue. I
Yeah.
did a budget for what it would take me to do a high quality Operation Recall comic the way that I would want to do it, and I'm pretty confident it would be about $30,000 an issue.
Oh. Ew.
If I were going
Mm.
to fund it, I would take it out to the community. That's what I've always done since 2013. I would take it out to the community. And I would say, hey, we've got 8 issues ready. We've
Mhm.
got the story for 8 issues ready. Here's the investment it's going to take for illustration, editorial, and printing. Do you want it to come to life? If you do, great. Throw money at it and we'll make it. And if you don't, that'll suck. Like we'll be sad.
Yeah.
But hey, at least we'll know it's not a viable thing to offer right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the way I look at Operation Recall, I'm so transparent with people to a fault. The total budget for Operation Recall is going to be about $1.3 million
Oh wow. Wow.
for everything that I want to do. I've raised 415 on Kickstarter. I've raised another 300 on Backer Kit. So I'm over halfway there, and I'll have enough additional figures coming in that if the additional figures that come in sell through, there's plenty of profit. There's
Oh,
profit. There's
nice. Okay.
profit built in, right? So, but that's the big if. Will demand be there to the point that I need it to be for like I have to spend that 1.3 to get this number of products. Will the demand be there to sell through those products and turn those back into money? If it
Right.
is, if it is, I have no doubt in this world we will make this 8 issue comic and hopefully
Yeah.
it'll be successful and we'll just keep rolling. But Bobby, he went to comic book school. Like
Yes.
the dude loves
Yes.
comics, man. And so, he made I think 8 issues also. If
Right.
you look at how many different brands he's developing right now with the
Yeah.
black,
Yeah.
all the aquatic stuff, badass. Obviously, Action Force is still kicking. Action Force World War II shit
Yep.
is
Yep.
going to be incredible. So
Yep.
he's got like multiple brands that he's working on. Would he be able to juggle all that mentally if he was also developing another 8 issue comic book?
Yeah.
Something's got to give, right? And it's like I was just saying at the beginning of this interview. You have to prioritize which things you're going to obsess over. And so I think he kind of scratched the comic book itch, and maybe the itch is starting to flare up again. So maybe he's gonna scratch it here again in a little bit. But unless something is justifying the opportunity cost of your time, then you have to pause it at some points. So for the comic book, I absolutely want to make it, but the first thing I need is for the toys to get back in the black. I'm going to be in the red for a little while with the
Right.
toys,
Right. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
barring me doing a Kickstarter to fund the comic book, which is an option, we could do that. Barring me doing a Kickstarter to fundraise the telling of this story, I think it's going to be notes in Google Docs and a lot of conversations until
Right.
we decide, okay, we've got the profit in hand. Let's make the comic.
Yeah. Comics. It is so great to have that lore out there, and
And you have
but
to, one way or the other, you
yes,
have to tell your
exactly.
story.
Yeah.
We can't get by with just file cards. I'm a firm
Yeah.
believer of that. I'm a firm believer that the story of Operation Recall is going to have to go beyond those file cards.
Yeah,
So,
although the file cards are amazing, and I
oh
like
yeah,
Larry. What I love about Larry, he's such a brilliant writer. Is like
hmm
that he never seemed to care about writing for kids, or he saw kids, maybe he saw kids and had a respect for them, because it
yes,
was just like it always felt like he was just above your head,
hmm
right? And it
hmm
was like you're reading them, the file cards, and you're like, all these, you're like, it's like an adult's talking about something you shouldn't know about.
he's
And then you
challenging
just like
you.
draw this stuff out, and that's why it's stuck in my head
Mhm.
for 40 years. So yeah,
Yeah, I
uh,
think he challenged us all. He
yeah,
challenged us all to pull out a dictionary, figure it out. You know what
yeah,
I mean? I
it's
think he
so
gave
cool.
us he gave us credit. That if we cared enough, we would figure it out.
And
I
he
remember.
is the best person to ever do it, because nobody else
Yeah.
ever even came close. Other toy lines had file cards. Not a
Yeah.
single one came close to
Yep.
matching like the level of what he did with them. That
Agree.
they all try to
Just
get corny,
that
and you know,
little bitty chunk,
yeah,
that little bitty chunk gave you so much to chew
yeah,
on. Yeah. So I've had the same experience when they come in for the characters, and he gives me these little dossiers. I'm the one that I'm taking all of the morals files, and I'm actually laying out the packaging now. So I get to see it for the first time, and then drop it into the file card and kind of see it in that format, and it feels really special.
yeah,
And there's little bits that just stick with you,
yeah,
like
totally.
there's something about Soul Eagle's Gatling guns and how he blows a ton of Orthrus people away, and like they hear that they were cleaning the Orthrus off the ceiling for a week after that. Something like that. I'm like, Jesus, Larry. It's good stuff, man. It's
That's
good
awesome.
stuff. Yeah.
So yeah, so what is the story? From what I know a little bit of it, but I could probably
Yeah, yeah, no,
probably
I'll
your
give you.
words.
So I've told this story a few times at conventions, so I've kind of got like the elevator pitch. But
Yeah,
obviously, Operation Recall was all about getting the legendary creators back together to make all new toys. So that's where the term or the trademark Operation Recall came from. This also kind of germinated during COVID, and during COVID, I learned about the recall program for the United States military. So they were recalling troops to stand up the military centers in New York City. I don't know if you remember, they were setting up like medical tent cities
oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
in the city. Yeah, so that was people that had retired from the army. And so the army can, in times of great need for the country, the army can recall previous soldiers to active duty when they need them. And
right,
so I was like, wait a second, that's exactly like what I'm doing with the guys from Hasbro,
yeah,
recalling them to active duty to make badass all new toys. So I was like, okay, it's Operation Recall. That's what we're gonna do. And that explains why we came up with that line for the toys. It doesn't explain why that would be the name of like a group of people.
right,
Where what the hell does Operation Recall mean in terms of a storyline? So we had to crack that nut, and I think there was an epiphany, and I don't remember if it was Joe or if it was me, but I'm relatively certain it was one of the two of us. And the idea was basically we have this new emerging threat of Orthrus. It's the split skull with the two-headed dog and everything.
yeah,
And so Orthrus is this new, very, very powerful threat that emerges. Now, Atlas is your stereotypical good guy anti-terrorist organization, right? So you've seen those before. But this is the
right,
Anti-Terrorist Legion of Allied Soldiers. So it's Atlas. And, Atlas held the whole world up, protected it, kept it safe, and that kind of thing. So
right.
I thought it was fitting. Also, I've got a Greek heritage, so I like putting a
Oh
little,
yeah,
dropping a little bit of that in where I can. And so Atlas was going to be our protagonist. We knew that. And Orthrus being the two-headed dog, most people know Cerberus. Orthrus is the
right,
brother of Cerberus. So yeah, we leaned into Greek mythology there. Um, Orthrus is going to attack and kill every current Atlas operative overnight. It's like a blitz. It's like one of these teen takeovers that they're having in the cities these days. So everything's just going to hit them like a ton of bricks, and all the Atlas operatives are going to be dead, and the bodies are going to be missing. All that's going to be left is that kind of split skull stamp on the ground. With, it turns out, the blood of the Atlas agents is used to put
yeah,
this impression on the ground. So they're leaving them a clue, and they're letting them know like your people are done.
yeah,
And so, what is the Atlas senior leadership to do? They basically have a recall. And I wouldn't say that these are retired previous operatives. I would say they're operatives that moved on to another assignment, that decided to do something else with their life, whatever. So
yeah,
every one of them is going to have a different story. Some of them are still going to be active duty, just doing something else. And some of them are going to be fighting for a championship wrestling belt to make their father proud. Right. So it just depends, from character to character, why they kind of moved on for the assignment of Atlas. Why would you ever leave Atlas? Uh, and so all those guys are going to get recalled to active duty to figure out who the hell Orthrus is. Are any of their teammates still alive? Because the bodies are missing. They don't know for sure that they're dead. Can they
mm,
recover any of them? Can they recover the bodies for their families? What you would do if you were a military and all your people were kidnapped, taken hostage, or killed. So they recalled all these guys and gals to come back and figure this out. And what I like to think of is like, you know, the first couple G.I. Joe mini series in the cartoon where they had to
Yeah.
scour the earth, they'd break into little teams and they'd go out in
Yeah.
different units to different parts of the earth. That's what's going to happen.
Nice.
And
Okay.
you know, they're going to break into their little teams and they're going to go track down the different various clues that they have and try to recover any teammates or fallen teammates that they can, figure out who Orthrus is, and put it into this new challenge. So I don't want to give away too much.
Yeah.
I give away a lot at the convention panels though. So like anybody that's watched the convention panels, they've already
Yeah.
heard this, you know? If you don't like spoilers, I'm going to give away a piece of what's at the end of the
Okay,
8th
good.
issue.
Yeah.
So turn off the video. Basically, mission accomplished. They're going to figure out who Orthrus is. They're going to storm the base. They're going to capture the big bad guy, General Mortifero. And so when he gets captured and taken back to Atlas headquarters, he's going to be interrogated. Another big spoiler alert. They're going to unmask him. This dude's whole face is tattooed. Like everything is black around here. The only thing that he left white is a skull. So
Oh.
basically it looks like a skull, but it's his pasty ass skin.
Yeah.
But then everything else is black tattooed around him. And then he's got this jet black hair. And we're actually doing our mail order end of year 1 figure is this Mortifero unmasked figure.
Oh,
It's
nice.
awesome. It looks so good. And of course he's got a little bit of blood like dripping down on him. And then he's got blood on his accessories. So it's not like he got captured and beaten. It's like he's unmasked in the headquarters and he's beating somebody. Anyway, he'll be captured. And when he's at Atlas headquarters and they unmask him, they don't get any valuable information from him. But he says, you know, Orthrus, we're Orthrus. It's a 2-headed dog, you idiot. Like the other side's coming, right? So that'll be the turn that leads into the second story arc and introduces the whole other part of the organization that you haven't even seen yet. So that'll carry us through the first 2 years worth of figures, and it'll take us through the first 8 issues worth of comics. There's year 2 figures. Like we know the Ninja, for example, he has a prosthetic leg for version 1 that's very different than the prosthetic leg that we're using for version 2. We have a story in there. We have a story for how he loses the leg, which is also how he loses the first prosthetic leg. And it's also the origin story of the cadaver that kind of rises above the rest of the cadavers and becomes the one to lead them, because he's the one that takes on like in man-to-man combat. And he's the only one that lives to tell the story kind of thing.
Okay, yeah.
And so that's going to be an awesome origin story for this guy. His name is Draugr. And so Draugr is going to be a badass. So the birth of like the version 2 Ninja also ties to the year 2 Cadaver's leader named Draugr, right? So we're coming up with like story beats that sync with the figures, because God willing, you know, we'll have these toys coming out when these comic books are coming out, and you could read that story about Draugr right around the same time that the Draugr figure is finally available.
Nice.
That's the plan.
Very cool. Okay, yeah.
That's how they were able to sync it up back in the day. And we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. We've learned the lessons of the past. We just hope to try to emulate them as closely as possible. You know, it's a travesty how little of those lessons are currently being practiced by the current practitioners.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? When you look at the 80s, we had it, man. We had it. The comic books were in sync with the cartoon, which was all in sync with the toys that were in the toy aisles.
Yeah.
They knew when the Dragonfly was going to hit shelves, and the Dragonfly would be on the cover of the comic that month. Like literally Hasbro told Larry, you've got to feature the Dragonfly or the Swamp Fire or whatever on this cover this month, because they approximately knew when those toys would hit shelves. That's how it worked.
Yeah.
And so if we're going to make comics, I want to at least try to sync them up with the toys that are actually becoming available around that time.
Yeah. Nice.
So,
that's great.
You got me going, man.
Bunch of questions about stuff, which some of you might want to not tell me, and that's fine. You can just say,
yeah, sure.
So, so you have like your origin, they all die, and then Atlas soldiers die, and then you have them go in. He gave me kind of a preview. We go to see the wrestler, right, the luchador, and he's wrestling.
Yeah,
right?
He's in the ring. Yep.
What's some of the other ones like? Because I almost imagine, it's like the mask moment where you go and you see, in mask, it's like
So my favorite.
dudes
My
like
favorite
making
comparison
a
for this.
pizza. This guy's a history teacher.
Exactly. Yeah. Did you read George Perez and Marv Wolfman's Team Titans?
No,
Oh,
no.
it's great. It's fantastic. So it's right up there with Chris Claremont's X-Men, in my view.
Oh wow.
Some people might debate that. Now they weren't as long lasted on that title, but they were there for a long time. George Perez and Marv Wolfman were an amazing
I
combination.
read some of it actually, but like
Perez
sparse.
is the illustrator, Wolfman's the
Yeah,
writer.
yeah,
So Wolfman did some really compressed storytelling, and that's what I feel like we have to do for
yeah,
Operation Recall. Compressed. That's the opposite of what they're doing today, right? Most
yeah,
comic books today, it's decompressed storytelling.
yeah,
You take one plot story point and they drag it out for a whole story arc so that they
yeah,
can make a trade
yeah.
paperback of it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not trying to do any of that shit because I don't think we're going to get to 300 comic books.
Right,
So
right.
every comic book that we make, I want it to be compressed and chock full. So the first issue is exactly what you're describing. Atlas is massacred. The order goes out to recall previous Atlas operatives, so the powers that be send their guys out to recover these people and bring them back. And so you will have a quick succession of collages showing where they are in their life at that point. So Lilith is our airborne paratrooper, our
Yeah.
Inuit from Alaska. She's actually going to be skydiving, and there will be a skydiving scene where he goes up and she basically says, "Yeah, whatever. Try to keep up." And she goes ahead and parachutes with the guy's got to try to keep up with her. Um, Clanker and Tank, I believe they're the ones that are relaxing on the beach, and,
Yeah.
and they come up on a boat, and Clanker doesn't like this. He doesn't like what he's seeing at all. So he has Tank fire a warning shot like a missile at the boat, like a little warning for them to stay away. Because I think they're trying to be retired.
No,
Soul
yeah.
Eagle, his father was a championship luchador wrestler, and Soul Eagle has gone back to wrestling. I think he's actually wearing his father's mask at this time.
Oh,
And
cool. Okay.
so they basically interrupt a match. So he finishes the match, puts the guy in the sleeper hold, takes him down, whatever, and then he gets up and they walk out together. So there's nice little stories about each one of them, but I think that's going to encompass the whole first issue is the
Okay. Yeah.
forming
That
of
makes
this
sense.
team. You know. And then after that, you'll have a little bit of get together, figuring out like, okay, what are the clues? What do we know? What leads should we be following down? And then they'll divvy up and kind of go on the search for the elements for the mass device kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah.
And they're not searching for elements; they're tracking down leads, and so we'll follow them all over the world and kind of piece that together.
So who's recruiting them? Is one of your action figures like the guy who goes out and recruits and like gets Lilith and gets Clanker and Tank and gets
Yeah.
Soul
So
Eagle?
I think that, the people that are actually, getting on the plane and going out and doing it are different from the people that are calling the shots. So kind of, if you think of the old comics for G.I. Joe, like the Jugglers, you have
Yes.
this cabal of generals. So I definitely think that we will be utilizing that concept of, this is one of kind of those alphabet agencies that obviously has some very high ranked brass that are calling the shots behind the scenes.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't know if you know this about me, but my grandfather fought in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. He was brigadier general, and he also fought in Charlie Wilson's war in the 80s. He was taking surface-to-air Stinger missiles to the Mujahideen in Afghanistan. I've got
Oh,
photographic evidence of all of this.
very cool. Yeah.
It's fucking
Yeah.
crazy. And so this is like the one little selfish thing, I think, for the line. I want my grandfather to be the juggler, like the
Yeah.
primary juggler.
Nice. Okay.
You
The
know,
general flag of the
yeah,
the general
general,
flag.
yeah, and I might even use Metaxas, man, and I know that
Yeah.
sounds like, self-serving, self-aggrandizing. It's not aggrandizing me, it's
Yeah.
aggrandizing a man that's worthy of being aggrandized, so if that's
Very
even a
cool.
proper usage. So, I definitely I have no qualms in talking about my grandfather, blowing him up, keeping his memory alive, and so I think he'll be kind of the primary juggler behind the scenes, but I think there's obviously gotta be a couple other people that the personalities bounce off of each other. And I eventually want to make his action figure too, and then I want to do a head
Nice.
pack so you can have the generals, right?
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
I want to do the general, but I want to do a general's head pack so you have like the whole pack of them. So
Very cool.
maybe we have to make a female torso too if we're
Yeah.
if,
Do
we're-
they
if
have
we're
a
going that
name?
direction.
Do
Do
they
they
have a
have a name?
name? Yeah. Do you have a nickname for them? Like the jugglers or
Yeah,
anything?
not for the
Okay.
generals themselves as a cabal, but I do know that the Afghans and the Pakis called my grandfather General Uzo,
Oh,
which Ouzo is
Booze,
a
right?
liquor, and there's a liquor label called Metaxa in Greece, Metaxa. There's a 3-star, 5-star, 7-star cognac, and then there's an Ouzo. So anyway, they called him General Ouzo. So that might go in there.
I like it.
Um, or if he has a more kind of combatant code name, it would definitely be Pop Smoke. Because my dad always said, "Let's pop smoke. Let's pop smoke." Every time we went anywhere, we could be going to Golden Corral, and he'd be like, "Pop smoke," like we're going to Golden Corral. Chill out, Dad. So yeah, I think if he has a code name, it'd probably be Pop Smoke or General Uzo. Don't know
Very
what the
cool.
group of generals would be called yet. I'm sure we'll come up with something
So-
clever. Yeah, but so they would be the leaders, and then I think the people that are going to get these people are kind of like the Men in Black. They're just kind of generic, probably
Okay. Yeah,
CIA,
yeah.
probably CIA wranglers, handlers.
Here's another question: is there a leader to the team? Like,
Yeah, yeah, because
couple
the
of figures?
Atlas people don't respect these Men in Black when they come to get them, right? So there's a little
Right,
bit of
right, yeah,
snark. There's a
yeah,
little bit of
yeah.
snark there. Like they're kind of the nerds or the suits. They're the Men in Black. I remember that about it. So yeah, these are not operatives that are going to get them. They're kind of
Okay, yeah.
CIA. I think they're
Who
CIA.
who's do you have a field leader in the team? I couldn't of your
Yeah, I've
who
already
is it?
got the head sculpt.
Oh, you
So
haven't made him yet. Oh, cool. Okay. So he's coming
yeah,
out.
so for year one, there's not a Duke, right?
Right,
Duke is
right,
your
yeah.
field sergeant. He's the one
Yes.
who's
Right.
leading you in the field. We got a lot of awesome characters, but I don't think that role is covered yet. Let's go through real quick.
Nice.
Operationrecall.com and then go to roll call.
Yeah, yeah.
So Rotello and Homer, they're the communications guy in his pigeon.
Right?
He's a badass. I love him to death, but he's not the Duke. He's not the
No, you
leader.
can't make Breaker the Duke, right?
Yeah, no. And then Breacher and Hellhound, he's the door kicker. He's young. He's a little arrogant. He's hot headed, but
Okay,
he's
yeah.
first in the door. He's super brave, and he's got a Belgian Malinois, so everybody's scared of that.
Yeah.
Let's see. So then you got Cadavers, you got Damselfly. Soul Eagle is kind of, he's the heavy machine gunner. The Duke
Right.
carries a handheld Gatling gun. He's freaking diesel as hell. He's actually
Yeah.
4 inches tall. So we're going to have a range of sizes for these
Oh,
figures from
nice.
3.5 inches to 4 inches. And that's because that's what the creative team wanted to do. They wanted to do it back in the day, and Hasbro wouldn't let them due to engineering constraints, and they wanted every figure to fit every vehicle. So we decided very early on, we're going to do that. We're going to give you the size variants you've always wanted. So Soul Eagle actually has a little bit broader shoulders, and he's about 4 inches tall.
Nice.
So anyway, he's like the heart of the team, I would say.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
He's cracking jokes, maybe he's the Mikey of the Ninja Turtles kind of
Yeah.
thing. Then you got Dark Reapers, you got Shh. So Shh is the ninja, and he's very stealthy. He's very silent. He's got his prosthetic leg, so he's capable of leaping buildings in a single bound kind of thing. But we're gonna off of the fact that he's not Snake Eyes. He's not silent. Just because he's a silent ninja doesn't mean he doesn't talk. He's actually
Okay, all right. He does
he's
talk.
actually
Okay.
yeah, he's actually pretty annoying. So he will talk. He will talk endlessly about his missions and his endeavors when they're not happening. But when he's
Okay.
on mission, yeah, he's stealth and he's deadly. But yeah, no, he's not the ringleader either. Bear Claw, nah, dude would rather be out in the woods with his raccoon.
Yeah.
He probably smells. I mean, all of his clothes are handmade. Like
Nobody
he's not
saw
going to
him
be
like
the
that.
he's not going to be the team leader. Clanker and Tank, like Clanker's a little eccentric. He's half Chinese, half American. He rescued this Galapagos tortoise from an Orthrus lab where they were doing biological experimentation
Right.
on animals. And so there was a mission where he actually rescues Tank, and they just immediately bond. He sets about making his own armor that's like inspired by turtles just for the fun of it. So I think he's kind of like artsy and quirky a little bit, you
Nice.
know. But definitely not field leader there. And then we got Midnight Ops Rotello, we got Snakeheads, Runback and Pack Dog. So Runback is on loan from the Japanese military. She's an expert with the kind of drone dogs, the drone warfare, the cyber dogs, the Boston Dynamics
Oh
style.
yeah, yeah.
And so she's all logistics, getting stuff to the front lines. That accessory that she's coming with, I think, is going to be one of the biggest hits of the line, because we have an accessory pack crate that's going to go click in right on top of it. Backpacks
Oh,
peg
cool.
in underneath it, and we're going to release the floor plan for the top of it, so people can design and release any 3D printed accessories they want, if it's
Oh,
MREs or ammo cans or whatever. So she's going to be very cool. but she's not the leader. She's on loan from another military,
Right. Okay.
so
Yeah.
she's not the leader. Bengal Indian intelligence sniper. Uh, she's gonna bring a lot to the table in terms of intelligence and probably bring a seriousness that some of the other ones won't. But I don't think she's the field sergeant either.
Right. Okay.
Night Raid and Ozzy. Ozzy's an old grumpy dog, and Night Raid is like the dude's been in the fight maybe a little too long.
Yeah.
So, he's the grizzled mercenary that's been around since the 80s kind of thing. So he's up there. Um, so no, he's not a field leader, but he's the one that you want in the trenches with you. You definitely want him there.
Nice. Right.
Scrounger's like a senior operative. Now we're actually naming this figure after Bob Prupus, who
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
the VP of Boys Toys back then. And we've already written the file card. We got permission from his family, of course, and they're all super excited about this because Prupus was a quartermaster during the Korean War. And this is the first quartermaster that I think we've gotten. I don't think we've ever gotten a quartermaster O-ring figure.
I don't
And
even know
so
what is a quartermaster. I'm not.
they're the people
100%
that gets everything. The military doesn't run without the quartermaster. They're the
Okay.
people that
Okay.
get
Yeah.
you the supplies, the rations, the weapons, the
Okay.
everything.
Yeah.
If you need
Yeah.
if you need a well built so that you can get the villagers water so that they will support you, occupying their space and training up their kids to be little militants running on your
Yeah.
behalf, like you need things all the time in the military.
Okay.
And so a
That makes sense.
quartermaster is that guy. My brother is actually like a quartermaster. He's a,
Oh.
a
Okay.
logistician. And he works on getting things into theater, out of theater, unseen. Right, so he works with
Mm.
JSOC, Joint Special Operations Command. He's actually with Lockheed Martin now, but like when he was in Iraq, he was running a warehouse in Balad, which was northwest of Baghdad, I
Okay.
believe, like 45 minutes, and he had millions and millions of dollars of equipment in this warehouse. So he's like a logistics kind of guy. So
Yeah.
that's what Bob Prupus was, and my friend Joe actually pitched this concept, and Kirk Bozigian latched onto it right away. He was like, Prupus was a quartermaster. We should definitely do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's going to be a senior leader. And I definitely think that Scrounger is going to be a mentor to Runback. Runback again is
Okay.
on
Yeah.
loan
Yeah.
from the Japanese military, and she's also into logistics and field supply specialist is what she's called. So yeah, I think Scrounger and Runback are going to be best of friends, and Scrounger's definitely the senior leader. So he'll certainly give her some guidance, but he's not a field sergeant.
Yeah.
Lilith, I think Lilith would be the closest to a field sergeant, but she's got the wrong attitude for it. She's feisty, man. She's got a chip on her shoulder and she's very feisty. And so I think the people would follow her, but she might be a little too edgy for that. I don't
Okay.
think she
Yeah.
wants that role. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Okay. Yeah.
And then Salty Dog, he's your mechanic. He's your construction mechanic. He's a CB Navy guy. He's not a field leader. He's getting in there. He's building what you need, and he's protecting the base and protecting the forward outpost. But yeah, he's not leading a squad of guys.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's year one. Like we really don't have the field sergeant yet. I don't think.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
But we do have the guy in mind, and there is
Oh.
a comic book moment where he is revealed, and I don't want to give that away.
Okay.
So
Fair enough. All right.
Well,
Another
yeah,
question.
so he's in the plans, but actually we haven't developed the toy for him yet. So
Oh, okay. Nice.
yeah,
Are
we might have
you?
to fast forward production of that and make him the year 2 mail order figure. That's actually what I've been
Good
thinking
idea.
more about recently. The first wave is Glide Path. Glide Path is basically like a squirrel suit kind of girl with
Yeah.
the flaps, that
Nice.
hang down.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. All right.
Yeah, that one came from Ted Terranova. It's a badass design. She looks amazing, and Mark Pennington's already working on her. The working name for the enemy arsonist is Matchstick, but I think we're going to change that over to Cinder. Cinder is kind of like a coal that still has flame to it, but it's not actively burning. Like always, it's combustible.
Yeah.
So I like
the
Cinder.
look of that. There's some artwork on.
Oh my
Instagram.
God.
That's
My most anticipated of year 2. And we're going to do a headpiece that is a 2-part head, and the top of it pops out and another part pops in, and it light pipes through this part to illuminate the eyes. It's gonna be fucking awesome. I'm so excited. I'm so excited about that figure. We were calling him Matchstick, but I think it's Cinder. Okay, the Dark Reaper's officers, Dark Reaper's biggest hit of Wave 1. There's an officer troop that you replace the arm grenades with a communications tablet, and he's got some gold deco. And then Werejackal is the leader of the Mizumu Corps. There's a different head sculpt for him where he's
Yeah.
unmasked. And so you may have seen that. And then Crossroads is basically like a you remember the pack rats that Ron Rudat designed in 83 or
Yep.
84,
Yep. Of
the
course.
little remote control kind of weapon systems.
Yeah.
We have a guy that's a machine gunner that it breaks down and fits on his backpack, or you put it into a couple pieces and it becomes a remote drone machine gun, which is actually very relevant for what they're doing out in Ukraine right now. They're sending out more
Oh, yeah.
drones to fight. And I'm not talking about just flying drones. They're doing little miniature tanks and that kind of thing. So Crossroads is basically a remote weapons technician, and his machine gun stuff will fit. It'll break down onto his backpack. So Ron Rudat already finished design for that. Mark
Nice.
Jerwig is working on those accessories right now. So out of all those that I mentioned, Pennington already finished the design for Glide Path. Pennington already finished the design for Matchstick. Rudat already finished the design for Crossroads. And we've already got Werejackal and Dark Reaper's Officer manufactured. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
I'm sitting on figures that I won't sell yet
Oh, nice.
because I'm trying to follow this sequence, right? Like I want the
Right.
sequence to be right. I don't want to hit you guys with a Dark Reapers and then hit you with a Dark Reapers Officer, a month later. I just don't want to do it. I want
Yeah.
to do it in the sequence that I had planned, but we'll see if I can get it right. And then so there's Midnight Ops, and that's all version 2 of the good guys. And so you got Bingle, Bear Claw, Night Raid and Ozzy, and Scrounger and Luna. And so most of those figures have new pieces, so it will feel like a unique figure. I didn't want to
Yeah.
do just like straight repaints like Tiger Force and Python Patrol. I prefer
Yeah.
what they did with Sky Patrol, where they did an entirely different deco and a new head sculpt and a parachute, and it
Yeah.
felt like you were getting more value for your money. So that's my approach.
Nice.
Like Midnight Ops Bangle, for example, the first Bangle has her hair back in a bun, and she's got her kind of bright, like what I would call daytime attire. Midnight Ops is obviously a drastically different deco, but we also gave her a different head sculpt with her hair down and flowing, and
Oh,
then we gave
cool.
her some night vision goggles that plug right in between the head and the hair. So if you think about the Baroness construction from 1984, that's
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
this construction for Bingle's like, and she's the best looking female O-ring figure I've ever seen. Like I
Nice.
love this figure,
Yeah.
literally love it. And you know how many O-rings I've looked at. She looks incredible. Bear Claw and Wilson, obviously the original Bear Claw. He's got like the yellow tan kind of pants, like handmade leather
Yep.
stuff. And this is like a very, very dark version of him. I told you is going to have an entirely different leg. We have a story beat for that where he gets in
Yeah.
this big battle with a horde of cadavers, and Draugr emerges from the ashes and gets away, but he loses his leg in the process. So Draugr has kind of a trophy. This freaking leg is like a trophy. So anyway, Night Raid and Ozzy. So there was a Russian cap, like a desert cap that they wore in the 80s that has the hat right here and then the kind of ears that come down and you have like little buttons on it right here.
Yeah.
So we're making a separate head for Night Raid with the bald head because he's an older dude, and he's got this Russian hat that sits on top of that. So the first head for Night Raid, everybody says like, "Oh, is that horror show?" And the reason they say that is because he's a big dude and he's wearing a tanker's
Right.
helmet,
He looks a
right?
little bit
So
like him. Yeah.
everybody jumps to horror show. I'm like, okay, maybe he's his older brother. Fine. So the version 2 of Night Raid, we're getting rid of that head. We're doing a separate head, same face sculpt, right? But you take the hat off, you get to see he's got this chubby neck with like a fat fold in the back. I
Oh,
love
yeah.
it. Like the level of detail that
That's
Carter
great.
has put into
That's
these
great.
sculpts is incredible. And so Night Raid will have a different head, different helmet. Scrounger and Luna, Midnight Ops, very different color palette from what they originally came with. Depending on price point for that, he may or may not come with that crate that I was telling you about that
Oh,
goes on
yeah.
top
Yeah.
of
Okay. Yeah.
Pack Dog. Great Whites is okay, so there was this character. He became Snakeheads. The original pitch was a deep sea diver, big, bulky, deep six, but a bad guy, right?
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
we loved this. We loved this design. And Kirk Bozigian, when he saw all of Mark Pennington's ideation, Mark Pennington tends to draw people real lean and mean, right? So
Mhm.
Kirk saw several of Mark's designs. He was like, "Ooh, I really like this one. He's a lean, mean, fast swimming machine. He's more Hydro Vipers than Deep Six." I'm like, "Okay, cool. Yeah. You don't bring in Kirk Bozigian to art direct if you don't want Kirk Bozigian to art direct."
Right.
So
Yeah.
we went in that direction. But there was definitely some people that were like, "Oh man, I kind of like the deep sea diver," and I'm thinking in the back of my head, "Man, I really like the deep sea diver too." It's not that I don't. I love snakeheads. Don't get me wrong, but I still wanted to make the deep sea diver. So since I'm the commanding officer, I get to call some shots.
Yeah.
So I'm putting him back in the line for year 2. We're going to make the deep sea diver figure. Mark Pennington's already finished design. Carter's already finished the sculpt work, and Mark
Nice.
Jerwig already finished the accessories. We're going to be tooling that figure up with wave 5 of year 1, right?
Very
So
cool.
I'm
Okay.
I'm getting ahead of year 2 by going ahead and doing design work and sculpt work and at times tooling work, so that I don't want there to be a lag of 6 months between figures ever again.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Ever. Think of them as the Orthrus Navy. So the Orthrus Navy is
Yeah.
going to kick ass. You're going to have
Yeah.
three. You're going to have 3 naval guys. You're going to have snakeheads, which are the troop builders. You're going to have Tiger Shark, which is the leader of the snakeheads. I'll mention him in a second. And then you're going to have Great Whites, which is the deep sea diver. Now I'll go ahead and give you a spoiler about Great Whites. He's going to have these boots. If you look at the Toy Fair catalog for 1989, they plan to have boots on Deep Six that were like deep sea diver boots that he pegged
Oh
into,
yeah.
just these big clunky boots. So Pennington designed these boots that his foot's going to go down into. Now, underneath those boots, we're going to have these 2 little cylindrical holes. The factory is going to glue magnets in those. And
Oh,
you're going to be
cool.
able to like walk this dude up metal walls or stick him under a filing
Nice.
cabinet or
Nice.
whatever. So he's going to have magnets in his boots. So he's a deep sea diver, that is magnetically able to attach to things. And then on his jetpack backpack, he's got 3 little mines that plug in to the backpack. You pull those out. They've also got magnets on the inside of them.
Wow.
And so
That's
you can
cool.
put those on so basically the idea is he's a deep sea diver, like saboteur type. So he's the
Nice.
one that's going down and blowing up the oil lines, blowing up the data cables, cutting off the Middle East from Europe by sabotaging their infrastructure. That's who Great Whites is. So he's an army builder. So this is wave 3. So you got Great Whites. You got Ordeal, who's an EOD, right? So that's an explosive ordnance
Nice.
and disposal.
Triple
And
M.
so Ron Rudat's working on her right now. What I really like about her, where I'm excited on this figure, is it gives us our first chance to do a really cool, lean, stripped down female kind of O-ring body that we'll be able to use in a couple different applications. But the whole EOD thing is going to come down and sandwich around her with the head coming up through. So the EOD stuff, like if you picture tripwire, but the bulk is removable. I mean, it's what they're doing with all the modern figures at 6-inch. We're going to be doing this for O-ring, which isn't done much and not well when it is done. Things had to be thicker. We're cutting it down to the very minimal tolerances for wall thickness, and we're going to hopefully make this work. I think it'll be awesome if it does. If it doesn't, we'll have a great O-ring female kind of standard military trooper that will be repurposed, multiple ways.
Oh yeah.
Damselfly, are you familiar with her, the jetpack trooper?
Yep.
So you press the button on her backpack and it pops open like this. It goes from jet mode like this to rotor mode like this. And by version 2, she goes from being a mercenary who worked with the Hellenic Air Force. So in the original version, she's blues, light blues, dark blues with a little bit of gold. And that was her mercenary outfit. By year 2, she is dyed in the wool Orthrus. So she switched to all the red, black, gold, and she's got a face mask on. So for year 1, she's this beautiful blonde, like she's just out there with her bright colors and everything. And by year 2, she's the darker, more mysterious Orthrus with the bone white mask that she'll be wearing. So actually, I think we switched it to gold to match General Mortifero. So she'll have a gold mask.
Very cool.
And so that's Damselfly. Larva is our mortar trooper. This is like, think of Frag Viper, but way better looking. So I'm sorry, Mark. I said it. Oh, geez.
Come on, I love Frag Viper.
Mark designed that guy. I didn't like the crisscross sashes and stuff. But anyway, whatever. We're creating all new figures. And so we're creating a mortar trooper. Got a really cool backpack design with a removable mortar on it. And so Ron Rudat's working on that one. And then we have Aurelius. There are anti-gravity troopers. These are bad guys. So both Larva and Aurelius are bad guys. Damselfly is clearly a bad girl. Ordeal is a good girl. Great Whites is a bad guy. So they're outnumbered in wave 3. But if you think about it, we just had the Midnight Ops wave, and that was all good guys, right? And after this, we got the Desert Ops wave, and that's all good guys. So we need more unique bad guys. So that's what we're going to be giving you in waves 1, 3, and 5. So
Bad guys are always
wave
more fun anyway.
yeah, they really are. They really are. So Aurelius, I believe he was designed by Adam Riches. The concept was designed by Adam Riches, and so he's an anti-gravity trooper. And to me, he's got a lot of shades of Exo Manowar in terms of the design, where you have these armor plates on top of this more organic looking armor underneath it.
Yeah.
It's just a very cool looking design. I'm a big fan of it. Ron Rudat has already finished the design on that one. Mark Jerwig has already designed the accessories for that one. So as you can see, like we're pretty far along in the creative process for year 2. So while we're working on the engineering and the manufacturing of year 1, we're working through year 2. We're just going ahead and doing it. The wave 4 is all desert ops. So I'll quickly tell you those guys: Breacher and Hellhound, Soul Eagle, Runback and Pack Dog, Lilith, and Clanker and Tank. And then I'll tell you what's unique. Breacher has a unique head sculpt where his hat is gone. And then he's got a Ronin ballistic helmet that sits on his head. So he's got a new helmet and a new head. And then this beautiful chocolate chip deco. It's a 4-color camo. Like, we're sparing no expense on the paint applications. This is why it's costing $1.3 million, because I'm putting a tremendous amount of paint applications. Like just my bird, Homer, I believe has 5 colors on him.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Just on the bird. It's crazy. It's stupid. Okay. So Breacher and Hellhound, they got a new helmet, new head. Soul Eagle has a new Desert Eagle, and he has some soft goods. He's got like a wrap that goes around with the 5-color chocolate chip on the wrap. Runback and Pack Dog, she has a different head sculpt with a different hat. She's got like a boonie hat this time. So in the first one, she's wearing the Japanese military issue hat, and in the Desert Ops, she's got more of like a boonie cap on. I don't think. Oh yeah, she's got some VR glasses too. Like it's like a remote headset. So because Pack Dog has all these sensors and cameras on the front of it. So she's tapped into that through the VR headset. So she comes with a new headset, new head, new hat. Nice. Let's see. Clanker and Tank, he's already loaded, dude. He doesn't need anything else.
Yeah.
That's like our first vehicle. He's got a spring-loaded launcher. He's got 5 missiles. He's got a grenade launcher gun. He's got a jetpack backpack. He's got a removable. Oh, he does have a different head sculpt. So the first version of Clanker will have a head with a heads-up display, goggles, a little chin strap, and everything. And then the second version will have a different head with just the hair on it, like his flowing hair.
I get a question about him. How does he fire his missiles? Is it is Tank firing the missiles, or is Clanker firing the missiles for Tank?
It could go either way. So the launcher absolutely comes up off of the back and has a handle on it and a shoulder rest for Clanker. Yeah. Now, that said, this is a big ass launcher, so I wouldn't think that Clanker could be flying around with this missile launcher for too long. Like, he might be able to do it for a little bit, but it's a big ass missile launcher. And if you remember from the 90s, that's kind of cheesy when you have a little O-ring figure. You have this big missile launcher. It's a little cheesy. So the justification for me is that you have this giant Galapagos tortoise with armor on it, where it's sitting, it's resting on the back of this guy. And so Clanker is the jetpack trooper. He goes up. He's got that smart grenade launcher that they outlawed because it was against the Geneva Convention, but not before they made it and used it for a while. This is a true story. They manufactured this grenade launcher for the Marines, and then a couple years later, they were like, this is probably illegal. So we're using that. So Clanker goes up and he red dots it with that, and then remote triggers the launch from Tank. So basically, Tank is the tank, and he's getting in position, but then Clanker's going up and painting the target, and Tank is firing the munitions. Tag team duo. So yeah, the only difference about Clanker is that he
can't like make the missiles fire on him.
I don't think so. I don't think he's that. I don't think he's that intelligent. He's got this goofy face. He's got this really silly looking face. To me, he's like the comedic support. If this was ever to have a cartoon, it would be like the Clanker and Homer show, or the Tank and Homer. So anyway, animal companions are fun though. And Clanker and Tank, Clanker will have the different head sculpt with his hair instead of the helmet. And then we're on to wave 5. We're almost done with year 2. Dead Zone is our electronic warfare specialist. This is very, very relevant MOS now. These are the guys that combat the drones that are coming in. right? So
Okay.
there's lots of different types of technology out there now where Ukraine is kind of on the bleeding edge of this, but obviously our guys, DARPA, everybody's working on different solutions for how to take down drones. And so I provided several of those ideas over to Ron, and we'll see what he comes back with. This is on his table right now. And so that's Dead Zone. And then we have Draugr, who's the Cadaver's commander. We have Tiger Shark, who's the Snakehead's commander. This is based on an old Bill Merklein sculpt, so we already have the head sculpt done for this. And that's basically a Snakeheads with a different head sculpt and a removable helmet. And then Sunder are the enemy samurai. I don't want to say more.
Nice.
I don't want to say more about them until I have my meeting with Kirk Bozigian and review all the ideas that Mark Pennington gave us, because it can go a few different ways. I'm very excited about that troop builder, though. I will say it's a female troop builder.
Oh, cool. Okay.
A female enemy troop builder.
Nice.
Based off of some of the old female samurai and some of the weapons that they were really renowned for fighting with, primarily kind of long staff blades.
Oh, yeah.
If you think about it, women are typically a little bit smaller than men, and so if they can keep them at a distance, that's at their advantage. Don't want to let them get a grip on you, right?
Right.
So the female samurai were really well known for practicing with this very long blade, and that's what we're working on with Sunder. I think there's going to be some soft goods in there. It's going to be
nice.
Yeah. And then what we create for the figure that's under the soft goods, you always have to think, and this is another thing I picked up from Bobby. I think I remember him saying this. If you're making a mold for a new toy and you only have one application for that, like you're failing as a designer.
Yeah.
You have to be planning for future uses. And so with Sunder, if we do some soft goods for the kind of geisha skirt, then I think we could do some kind of ninja stuff with the legs underneath that will be able to be used again. So I'm excited about her. And then finally, Remedy, which is our medic, which Bobby just killed it. One of the things that Bobby is planning for his medic is the opening medical pouch.
Yes.
That is in our design for our medic as well. And I actually sent that kickoff packet to Mark Pennington, and I posted it to Facebook, like I always do. Like, these are the ideas we're pursuing. And I swear to God, within a week, Bobby posted his medic, and I was like, thank God that I posted that already, so I could say I'm not stealing ideas from Bobby. Damn it. So yeah, she's going to be a medic. This is a lady, and she will have a droid with her that is like a medical kind of assistant.
Oh, nice.
And the original pitch had that droid in it, and that's definitely one of the things that drew me to it. So it's going to be a field medic with a droid assistant.
Very cool.
So that's year 2, man. That's all 25 figures.
That's a lot, man.
I don't think there's a dud in the bunch. If I thought there was a dud in the bunch, I'd cut it right now, because they cost too damn much to make. I mean, you do not want to invest in a dud.
That's for sure. Yeah. I have a couple more lore questions for you.
Yeah, man.
Well, tell me as much as you can about Orthrus. Like, do they have a home base? Is there, what's their plan? What's their whatever you want to tell me, I guess. But.
Yeah, so Atlas is the Anti-Terrorist Legion of Allied Soldiers. It's an international community of kind of really exceptional anti-terrorist. And so for Orthrus to establish themselves in this way, they're clearly a terrorist organization that is interested in taking out their primary adversary before making their inroads more publicly. So I think like any and all criminal, corrupt underground organizations, it behooves them to stay under the radar, to stay underground. So if you're going to do something that is this bold and brazen, you must have plans for, let's say, broader plans than you had as the underground organization. So they knew that Atlas was going to be the thing that would be able to stand in their way. And so let's just call this a preemptive strike to try to win that war. I don't want to give away kind of what their plans are for world domination, but suffice it to say that they do have geopolitical ambitions. They do want to be recognized as, let's say they want a seat at the United Nations, for example. They don't want to be a criminal underground network that's hiding in every country. They want to be a player on the world stage. They're going to have to concoct some pretty fantastic stories to justify their actions against Atlas, but I think they'll be prepared with that, maybe with some deep fake videos and such to make the case that they've been unfairly persecuted. by Atlas and that this was a defensive measure on their part. But yeah, so I consider they're not going to be Cobra Commander on TV saying, "Give us $8 billion, or we'll turn the Eiffel Tower into rust or something."
Right,
But
right.
they will be lobbying for a position at the table of the UN, and they will be seeking to take over a government of a country in Europe.
Very cool. Okay.
And it's not a
Is
small, and it's not a made up country either.
okay,
So
okay. Very cool. All right. Is the so they do that will be their home base, or do they currently have a home base like an island, a
yeah,
castle?
they're operating out of there. Like I was saying, they've kind of operated in an underground capacity. Mortifero gives you a clue in that it's Spanish.
Right,
So
right.
let's
Okay,
just go
yeah.
ahead and say let's just go
Yeah.
ahead and say it's Spain. Um, we won't say where their base is yet. I mean, we will say internationally they hire people from around the world. If you just look at who they've assembled in this first arc,
Yeah.
Damselfly was part of the Hellenic Air Force, which is Greek once again. Mizumu Corps are all African. The scarification patterns is a very African thing. The armament that they carry with them was invented by the South African. I believe it's a weapons manufacturer out of South Africa. Um, there's going to be a lot of Russian weaponry involved here. So I'll say that they're like the French Foreign Legion, and that
Oh,
they'll
okay.
take all kinds to their cause, right? They're not nationalist, we'll put it that way, but they realize the opportunity and the value in taking over a government and leading, having a seat at the international bargaining table. They're certainly going to do a lot of illegal shit, but they want to preserve the appearance of legitimacy, right?
Okay. All right. Interesting. Yeah. So, what can you tell me about General Mortefero? How do you say it? Mortefero.
Yeah.
Mortefero.
So I said it wrong for the first 2 years, I think. I think I was calling him Morty Farrow was what I was calling him. And my friend David Emanuele Martinez that pitched him to me said, "It's Mortifero. It's Mortifero."
Mortifero. Mortifero.
So I
Yeah,
can't
there you
say it
go.
right without getting into
Yeah.
David's voice. Mortifero. Mortifero.
Mortifero. Oh
It's
God.
that little tilde above the I that gives it
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Mortifero.
pronunciation. But yeah, so Mortifero is definitely Spanish. Um, I don't want to get too much into his background because he's
Okay.
he's still a mystery at the end of the 8 issues.
True. True.
They
Right.
unmask him and they don't learn much from him. So it's like I don't want to, hopefully the story will go long enough that we'll be able to have a writer unpack the origin story, and
Right. Right. Yeah.
he won't be a former car dealer. We know that.
Yeah.
That's been done.
Been done. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about the Mizimu
Yeah,
court?
so the
What
Mizumu
can you tell me?
Corps,
Mizumu?
yeah, their contract Mizumu. It's
Mizumu.
Mizumu. So that's Swahili, and it's for Ghost. So the
Right.
Mizumu Corps are the Ghost Corps, and that was coined by Larry. And they were originally called the Unknown. We always have working titles for these guys,
Right. Right.
but so they're African jungle troopers that are armed with South African machine guns and machetes, and their whole backpack is 3 ammo cans. If you look at the backpack, it's just belts and ammo cans. So these
Yeah.
dudes, if you think of each one of those ammo cans is like 40 pounds, so they're carrying around 120 pounds on their back of just ammo,
Yeah.
and then they've got an ammo belt coming out of one of the top cans to their machine gun, and then they got a machete in the back. But they're just basically contract mercenary military, that come in
Okay.
and do what they're paid to do. Now, Werejackal, I was thinking that these were actually African folks, and then Larry wrote the file card, and Werejackal was trained in the United States, went to university in the United States. So it's not, I have to throw out kind of what my preconceptions were when I get in some of these dossiers from Larry, and we have to pivot a little bit.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like with Bingle, to me, she military, and I believe Larry wrote her to be born here in the States to Indian parents. So
Right.
I can't be too tied to anything that Joe and I started to set up in the first place, because then we kick it
Yeah.
over to Larry. He does what he does, which is way better than anything that we would ever do. So we've got to be willing to like pivot along those lines. So
Nice.
Mizumu Corps, African jungle troopers, contract mercenaries. Werejackal, college educated the United States, and we'll have to unpack that a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, I think I'll have to go back and read the dossier again, but I think he was studying here from abroad. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe he's first generation American with ties to the
Oh yeah.
jungle, to the Ghost Corps.
Well, Larry always
He's
goes weird. He always goes creates something odd and out of left field. That's like one of the things that makes him great.
it's what makes it memorable, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Yep.
Nice. All right. So anything we missed as far as lore?
Damselfly. Damselfly is the bad girl. You know, she's part of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
she was part of the Hellenic Air Force, so she tried to walk a straight and narrow path. That didn't work out for her. She ended up becoming a mercenary. And her father, there's some interesting anecdotes from Larry and her dossier about her father, who was a gun runner. And
yeah.
that might have put her on the wrong path. So she's going to be a mercenary for year 1, and then she, like I said, she's going to be dyed in the wool Orthrus by year 2. Now the question there, and this would be in collaboration with whatever writer editor we end up hiring, is does she become dyed in the wool Orthrus for love? Does she do it because she's being
Right.
blackmailed? What happened to her father? You know what I mean? Like there's different story angles we could take. Is her father being held captive and she's having to do this against her will? Or has she actually fallen for Mortifero, whoever he is? You know?
Oh yeah.
Well,
Okay. Yeah.
we'll have to figure out what the story beats are that explain her going from a paid mercenary to somebody that's going to like completely adopt their visual persona and be dyed in the wool Orthrus going forward. So that'll be an interesting story to tell. And then, the Draugr story about like all the cadavers get wiped out except for Draugr, and he's battle damaged, and it reveals his face because the mask is battle damaged. So that's the first time you see him, but he gives a bit of an ass whipping too, and does enough damage that when is getting lifted away, he's hanging onto the rope from the helicopter flying off, and his little leg stump is dangling, and the rest of the leg is down there with Draugr, and he's looking up at him. So to me, that's like that might be a silent issue.
Oh
That's like
yeah, yeah.
that's like the setup for Snake Eyes and Storm
Yeah.
Shadow. I think Draugr and are kind of they're our badass kind of ninja types.
Nice.
Cadavers, we haven't really said much about cadavers other than these guys are like the CGs, like the Crimson Guard, in that they could be your neighbor.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah.
the cadavers are embedded all around you. You never know who they are, so you kind of got to be on the lookout. And if you ever see a cadaver, it's too late. They're coming to kill you. They've got an assignment. And so these people are, highly educated, successful, practicing members of tax-paying members of society that just so happen to be, trained kind of sleeper cell agents that will come
Yeah.
in and do the dirt. So that's why they come with a pistol with the silencer. They come with a couple swords. They prefer to do their work silently. One of the things they have on their legs are these 3 spring-loaded knife. This is a Russian ballistic knife system.
Oh,
So we
that's
we
cool.
research all the details of all these guys, right?
Yeah.
It's one of the really fun parts of
Yeah.
participating in the design process with Ron and Mark is thinking, what are each of these things? How do they work? What's the historical background for it? So on Cadaver's thigh, he's got these 3 Russian ballistic blades. They're basically spring powered. You lift it up and shoot it, and the freaking blade flies out and
Oh
kills.
yeah. Yeah.
So Cadavers tends to kill with their swords or their spring loaded blades, or if they have to, their weapon with silencer. And so they're cool. They're a really cool design. I think that's going to be hugely popular. And then snakeheads. We didn't talk about snakeheads. They're biogenetically engineered to be able to breathe underwater. Larry wrote this into the file card, and I was like,
Yeah.
really? Like
Yeah.
they can breathe underwater for real? So I'm like, all right. so what we end up with, we knew we wanted the webbed hands. Mark Pennington designed Hydro Viper back in the day.
Yeah.
He designed snakeheads today. Both of them clearly inspired by Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah.
So these guys, they do have interchangeable hands. The toy has interchangeable hands, ones that are open with the web, but ones that are also, cupped so they can hold their accessories.
Yeah.
So they've got an underwater kind of hydraulic gun. They've got a jetpack. They've got a spear, a trident. And they've got the swappable hands. They've got a little removable panel on their thigh, and that reveals a little underwater dart gun that's based on a real world underwater dart gun. That's really cool.
Oh,
I think they call it the Scuba Ringer. If you want to YouTube
yeah.
search for
Okay.
Scuba Ringer. But so the snakeheads are pretty disgusting, genetically engineered with they got fins on their sides. So we actually opened up the costume here and gave like breathing room for these little fins. They're little breathing
Oh,
gills.
yeah.
I guess I should call them gills on their sides. So they got the webbed hands and the gills and that kind of thing. They will have a removable helmet, and it'll just be a masked army builder trooper under there. And then Tiger Shark is going to be the leader of the snakeheads. and I'm not going to say anything else about him other than he's got a badass battle damaged face. He's
Nice.
maybe got into it with some piranhas or something. But he's got some battle damage. That's a really cool head sculpt that was done by Bill Merklein back in the 90s. I got really lucky. Bill gave me like 3 or 4 head sculpts where he's like, well, I did these. Do you want to use these? I'm like,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
It's prime time. It's prime time Merklein, man. Like that dude, incredible. So yeah, we're using every one of those head sculpts for something, and Tiger Shark will be one of those. So I think that about covers all the bad guys.
Dark Reapers. Anything that I should know about those guys?
How did I not even talk about Dark Reapers?
Yeah.
So Dark Reapers are the SWAT. They're the heavy hitters. They're that come in and leave nothing standing. There's nothing quiet about them, right? Where cadavers are the sleepy people next door, come in and slice your throat. Dark Reapers are the people that come in and kick your door open and, you know, fill you with fully automatics and wake up all the neighbors, and they don't give a shit. If you catch them, you're dead too. So yeah, Dark Reapers move in force, and there's nothing quiet about them. That big ass machine gun that's designed by Ron Rudat is their primary weapon. It's called the Reaper. Then they got a pistol as well. Dark Reaper's officer has a communication tablet in place of the grenades, but yeah, they're the most popular Wave 1 figure so far.
Oh, nice.
People love Dark Reapers, man.
Very cool. Well, thanks so much. Yeah. Looking forward to working on the video, and looking forward to seeing, you know, next wave. But
well, I'm sorry I gave you so much to work with, Mark. I appreciate all the effort that you're doing on this. So thank you for believing in Recall and for helping to get the word out.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, my pleasure.